Welcome to the Florida Divorce Podcast, your source for the information you need to successfully get through your divorce and into the next exciting chapter of life. Now, here's your host, Attorney Scott Kalish.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Kalish. I am a divorce and family lawyer here in South Florida. Today I want to talk to you guys about something that's pretty interesting. It comes up, I would say, fairly frequently. And that's private school tuition. Usually potential clients who have their kids in private school, right? And they want to know, hey, can my child stay in private school? Can I legally ask for that? Can I ask for the spouse to continue to pay, my spouse to continue to pay for private school? Or I have people asking me, hey, we're going to have to cut back, or telling me we're going to have to cut back. I'm not going to be able to afford to pay alimony, child support, and private school tuition. So it comes up in different contexts and from different sides, but it comes up, right? So I want to talk to you about, whether or not private school tuition can be forced, right? So can we force the other spouse, or will you be forced to pay for private school tuition, right? Is it possible in the context of a Florida divorce, right? So right off the bat, I want to give you just a short answer, right? Cut right to the chase. And that's yes, right? It is possible. I just want to be, frank and candid with you guys though. I haven't really seen it in court litigated too much, right? I actually never have seen a judge order it, require it. Obviously, I haven't been practicing family law for 40 years, but I can tell you that I really haven't had it actually litigated in court before. But I'm looking at the law right now. The law says it's possible, right? So if you want to force the issue, sure, there is law that would back it up, right? So let me kind of walk you through now. So I've told you that yes, it's possible that the private school tuition can be on the table, can be forced, right, by the other spouse. But so let me walk you through what you have to prove to get it, right? So before a judge can require the other spouse to contribute towards private school expenses, tuition, etc., they have to prove three things, right? So the first thing that you would have to prove is the parties have the ability to pay such expenses, right? So this is a pretty, I would say, self-explanatory requirement, right? So, before you can have the other spouse contribute towards private school expenses, you have to be able to prove that, hey, they have the excess funds at the end of every month after they pay for their necessities, their bills, to pay for the private school tuition, right? So depending upon how much that is, and then also how much your spouse has, right, will dictate whether or not you can prove the first requirement. The second requirement, the expenses are in accordance with the customary standard of living of the parties, right? So if you find yourself in the situation of, hey, my child never went to private school, they always went to public school, but hey, it would be really nice to have them go to private school because so-and-so down the street is going to private school, and you were thinking that they wanted to go to private, or you were thinking that you wanted to send your child to private school, right? So if it's not in accordance with the customary standard of living of the parties, then, you're not going to be able to prove it, right? So it's got to be something that you really did during the marriage. Number three, last thing that you have to prove. You have to prove that attendance at a private school is in the child's best interest. So that's probably going to be the easiest, one to prove most times, right? I mean, if you're paying for a school, I'm sure the school is going to be, very good. There's excellent public schools too. So I could kind of see it if you live in a district or a zone where the public school is amazing and the private school could be even a little bit inferior, right? I mean, every private school is not great, but I would say, by and large, I think, the general consensus is that private school usually pretty good, but there are exceptions, but I think that proving it's in the best interest of the child to attend a private school is probably not the hardest thing to prove. I've never had to do it, like I said before, but yeah. So those are the three things that you would have to prove in order to, or before you're able to get your spouse to definitely, contribute to private school, right? If you want to have a judge order it, you'd have to prove these three things. Again, really quickly, the parties have the ability to pay for such expenses. That's number one. Number two, the expenses are in accordance with the customary standard of living of the parties. And finally, three, attendance at private school is in the child's best interest. So there you go. It's possible. Again, not all that common. Most people that can afford it, right? They just agree to it. If they've always, paid for private school. But if we're dealing with a family that they did it during the marriage, they really, it's a little bit of a stretch after divorce with alimony, child support. It's really not going to be a thing. then yeah, that's probably the situation where you're going to find yourself litigating this issue. And that's probably why I haven't really had to deal with it. In my practice, I think it's, semi rare, but yeah, if you guys, like this podcast, I greatly appreciate it if you leave it a 5-star review. If you, want to ask me any questions or you have any suggestions about topics in the future, I've had a couple people reach out and tell me, hey, you should record a podcast episode about X, Y, and Z. I'd love to hear it. You can email me right at Scott, SCOTT at KJLaw, LAW, FLA.com. And that's Scott at KJLawFLA.com. And if if you're interested in getting some more information about us possibly representing you, feel free to give us a call. And you can call us at 561-208-1859, 561-208-1859. All right, guys, take care and catch you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Florida Divorce Podcast. To learn the 10 secrets behind every successful divorce, visit floridadivorcepodcast.com. If you'd like Scott's help in your divorce case, go to kjlawfla.com.